Hi there, welcome to my channel House of Leo. In today's tutorial I will show you how to do the half treble crochet and the treble crochet stitch in UK terms. In my last video I showed you how to do the double crochet stitch. I will link that video below, please do go and watch that. Here you can see I've made 3 swatches and each swatch I've made is 10 rows long. So it just shows you how each stitch gets gradually longer as you go through. If you find this tutorial helpful, please do give it a thumbs up and do please comment with your progress and questions. I really love to hear from you. Okay, let's get started. So just before I start, I want to say that this tutorial is for absolute beginners, so I will be going slow. If you already have some experience of crochet, this may be a bit slow for you, so I recommend maybe watching one of my other videos, but this one is for absolute beginners, so let's get started. So to start with, we're going to do the half treble crochet. This is UK terms. In US terms, that is a half double crochet. This is what it looks like. I will be including how to count along and how to turn in this tutorial, so you should be able to create a nice neat piece by the end of the tutorial. So we're going to start with our slip knot. If you've watched my previous video, I do this much slower and repeat it a few times to show you. I'm just going to do it once in this video. Wrap it around your fingers, take the loop off, pop your hook through, bring it through, tighten the knot, and you have your slip knot. So I'm just going to make another swatch of 20 stitches. This one is 10 rows long, 20 stitches across. So to make our 20 stitches, we need to start with a chain. So we're going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20. So we have our chain of 20. Now to create this stitch, we are going to need to chain an extra 2 in order to turn. So keep our finger there. We're going to chain 1, 2. This chain counts as our first stitch on the next row. So for me, the easiest and simplest way to know which chain to go back into is to count along from this end. Excuse me. So we have chain 1, chain 2, chain 3, chain 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 17, 18, 19. Because we're doing a row of 20 and this chain is going to count as the first stitch, we want to stitch in chain number 19. If we stitch into chain number 20, we're going to have 1, 2, 3 and end up with 21 at the end. So we have 1 and then we're going into stitch number 19. So when we get to the end, we will have 20. So this is number 19 here. Now to do this stitch, you need to yarn over, go through your chain space, yarn over and pull through. You now have 3 loops on your hook. You yarn over and you pull through all 3 loops. Let me do that again for you. Yarn over, then through your chain, yarn over, pull it back through your chain. You have 3 loops on your hook. You yarn over and pull through. So your chain that you made at the beginning, the extra chain 2, has become the first stitch on the end there, and you have 2 stitches completed. So that's 3 stitches. You yarn over, go through your next chain space, three loops on your hook, yarn over and pull it through all 3 loops. So we now have 4 stitches completed, including our first chain. Yarn over through the next chain, yarn over, pull it through, 3 loops on the hook, pull it through all 3. Yarn over through your next chain space, yarn over, pull it back through the chain, yarn over, pull through all 3. I'll just do that one more time and then I'll go to the end of the row. Yarn over, through, yarn over, pull through, 3 on the hook, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops. I'm going to go to the end of the row and I shall show you what to do once you get to the end. Okay, so I've made it to the end. This is our slip knot here. And you have one last chain space to work into, so you yarn over, that was a little trickier to get into. You have your 3, yarn over, pull through all 3, and including your chain on the end there, you have 20 stitches along. So in order to turn, I'll just actually show you how the stitch looks. So you have your V on the top there, and if you turn it, you can see that there is a row of stitches along the back. This is what creates that lovely lined effect. Okay, so I've made it to the end. We are now going to chain 2, 1, 2. Turn our work. I always turn my work counterclockwise away from me. We have our chain, we have our first stitch space, we have our second stitch space. If we work into this space, we will end up with 21 stitches along. So we're going to be working into this space, and the way I always remember that is if you pull it this way, you have your chain coming off the side. If you pull it up, it sort of looks like the chain is coming out of this stitch, because your chain is going to act as your first stitch. I think of it that way. So it's actually this one along that we need to work in. So we yarn over, You could do the method as well where you count back to stitch number 19 if you find that easier. So not this very first one, but the next one along, because our chain is coming out of this first one. So that's one. But it's actually stitch number 2 because we're counting our chain. So 2, yarn over. As you can see, because I've turned my work, we have the line here and the V on top. We are going through the V. So the line sits underneath. That's what creates that lovely ribbed effect. Yarn over, pull through all 3. Yarn over, through the next stitch, which is the V, three on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. You can start to see the stitches quite easily, really. As long as you've not pulled it too tight, you'll be able to see them easily. So you yarn over, then through your stitch, yarn over and back through the stitch. You then have 3 loops, yarn over and pull that through all 3. Yarn over, through, yarn over, back through, yarn over into all 3. You can see how this already has quite a nice straight edge and a sharp corner. One more time, yarn over, through, yarn over, 3 on the loop on the hook, yarn over, pull through. Again, I'll make it to the end and I shall show you the last stitch and the turning again. So I've made it all the way to the end. I recommend as a beginner you just count every stitch on every row to start with, just to make sure that you're getting the right amount. So not forgetting our chain at the beginning here is 1 stitch, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and I've done stitch number 19. Now it does look like I have come to the very end, but we must do a stitch into the chain previous. If you sort of straighten it out, it could look like that is the last stitch done already, but it's not. This is why we count. So we're going into this chain here through the top, and that will be stitch number 20. So we yarn over. This is where it can get a little bit fiddly going into the chain, but it's possible. You just have to wiggle and jiggle it about a bit. Going through the chain there. Yarn over, pull through. You have your 3. Yarn over and pull through all 3. So that is 20. This is the bit that's the hardest, I think, is keeping the count, because if you accidentally add stitches, your piece gets wider. If you accidentally remove stitches, your piece gets skinnier, and that can be quite frustrating. So now we've made it to the end. We're going to chain 1, 2, turn the work away, and again, as I said before, we have our chain, and if you pull it up, looks like the chain is coming out of this one. So we're not going to do that one. We're going into the next stitch along, yarn over. So this would be as well, this would be when you're reading a pattern, the pattern will say second stitch from the hook. That is what it means. That would be the first stitch from the hook. This is the second stitch from the hook. So you do your chain and you stitch into the second stitch from the hook. And that is why, because your chain counts as the first stitch. And it helps to keep your count correct. So we yarn over, going through there, which is your V, 3, through all 3, yarn over into your stitch, pull back through, 3 on your loop, yarn over through all 3. I'll make it to the end and show you one more time. Okay, so as I said in the previous row, we have our chain here that counts as stitch number 1, stitch number 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and I've done stitch number 19. So we are now working into this side chain, yarn over, pull up 3, yarn over through all 3. I recommend counting on every row. It makes such a difference to get it right. Even as someone who's been crocheting for as long as I have, sometimes I find I need to keep counting just to make sure it's really neat and straight. So we're going to chain 2, turn away from you. You have your first space, which is where your chain is, so we're not going in there. We're going into the second stitch from the hook. Yarn over, push through, yarn over, pull back through, yarn over through all 3. And there you have it. That is the half treble crochet stitch. This is what it looks like when you've completed 10 rows. Okay, now for the treble crochet. So the treble crochet stitch, as you can see, is gappier. The stitch is longer, and this is the perfect stitch. This is the stitch you use to make granny squares. It's a stitch that's really useful if you want to work up quickly. As you could see, it was much deeper than the other one, only in 10 rows, so it's great for making sweaters and scarves and anything that you want to be squishy and soft, and also granny squares. So let's get started on the treble crochet. So we're going to make our slip stitch, and chain 20. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So for this stitch, as it's longer, our chain needs to be longer at the end, because you want your chain to match the length of the stitch to keep it neat on the sides. So for this one, I'm going to chain an extra 3. 1, 2, 3. So as we have our 20 and then 3 chains, we want to stitch into chain 19 because the chains count as our first stitch, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 chains. So we're going to go into chain number 19. So as before, we yarn over, we put our hook through the chain, yarn over and pull through. So this is the same as the half treble. The way to make this a full treble is now we yarn over, pull through just the first 2, yarn over, pull through the next 2, and that makes a full treble. So let's do that one more time. Yarn over, through our stitch, yarn over and back through, so you have your 3 on your hook, yarn over, and instead of pulling through all 3, you just pull through the first 2. You then have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through those 2. Yarn over, through the next stitch on your chain, yarn over, pull through, 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So here you can see, if we count our chain, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches. Yarn over, through your next chain space, 3, yarn over, through the first 2, yarn over, through the next 2, over, through the chain, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2. So this is our treble crochet, and as I said before, granny squares are made using this, so it's a really good one to master. Yarn over, everybody loves a granny square, through your chain, 3, yarn over, through the 2, yarn over, through the 2. So I shall make it to the end, and then I shall show you the last stitch and the turning chain. So I've made it to stitch number 19. I will count along with you just to show you. You can see it's much easier to count these because you can see what is called the post of the stitch. So you have your chain stitch, which is number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 19, and then we have our slip knot here and our very last stitch here. Pull it up through, 3 on the hook, yarn over, through 2, yarn over, through 2. So you have your 20 stitches. We are now going to now chain 3. 1, 2, 3. As this is a longer stitch, you want your chain to match the length of your stitch. Turn away. And as I said before, if you pull your chain this way, you can see your first stitch here and your second stitch there. If you pull your chain upwards, the chain is coming out of the first stitch, so this is your first stitch. So yarn over and go into the second stitch from the hook, and that becomes stitch number 2. So you have your chain stitch, stitch number 2. Some people, sorry I keep bashing my camera, some people chain just 2. I chain 3, it's just the way I do it. Some people prefer to chain 2. It really doesn't matter, as long as you get your end chain counted as your first stitch, and you always stitch into it when you get to the other end. So you yarn over, through your stitch, 3 on the loop, through 2, 2 on the loop, 2 on the loop, 2 loops on the hook, sorry, going a bit bonkers. Yarn over, through your stitch, yarn over, through 2 loops, through the next 2 loops. You will see, excuse me, I've got a bit of a tickle in my throat, sorry about that. You will see that the stitches are stacked on top of each other. So you are, when you're stitching a treble crochet, you are going into the top V stitch, not in between each stitch. That's a different thing. Come to that later. For now, you're just going yarn over through the top of the V, yarn over, pull through the 2, yarn over, pull through the 2. And you can see they're sort of stacked on top of each other, they're not going between. One more time, yarn over, through, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2. Okay, so I'm going to make it to the end again and show you the last one again. Okay, so I've made it to stitch number 19 again. I shall count along with you. So you have your chain, it's your first stitch, so that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, and we've done number 19. Now we are working into our chain, so we want to go into this top stitch here of our chain from the previous row. So we yarn over first. This is fiddly. It's easily missed because you can just, it looks like you finished the row, but you haven't. You must go into this chain at the end. Even I find it fiddly, but don't skip it because it's important to get in there. Go on, you can do it. I believe in you. There we are. So we're in. Yarn over, we pull through. Yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, pull through 2. I do apologise, I've got a real frog in my throat today. But we have completed 2 rows of the treble crochet. So now chain 1, 2, 3, turn your work away from you. You have stitch number 1, stitch number 2. We are working into stitch number 2 as the chain counts as stitch number 1. Yarn over through, pull it back through, yarn over through 2, yarn over through 2, over, through, back through, through 2, through 2. Now you can see there's a straight edge, a crisp corner where we've turned, and the stitches are looking very even. You'll find as you go along your piece could look a bit like this, a bit misshapen. Don't be afraid to just stretch it about, make it go where you want it to. Helps keep it neat and tidy. So one more time, yarn over, through, 3 on the loop, 3 on the loop, 3 loops on the hook, 2 loops on the hook, pull through the 2. I'm going to do that one more time. Yarn over, through the stitch, back through the stitch, go through 2 loops, 2 loops. And that is how you create your treble crochet stitch. As you can see, it's got a nice straight edge and it grows really quickly. It's a nice deep stitch to learn. I really hope these videos were helpful. Please do give me a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, all the bits and bobs you need to do to help my channel grow, because I am loving teaching you crochet and I want to continue. If you have any tips or tricks that you want to learn, please do comment below with those and I shall try to make a video for you. Yeah, have a great day and stay persistent. You've got this. I believe in you.